Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the More Listings Mastermind. It's a real estate podcast. We meet weekly every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, where power, growth, and momentum begins. That starts with this week's More Listing Mastermind. Let me go ahead and get started with the program. Again, More Listings Mastermind, a real estate podcast. It's where you take your business to the next level. That's the ultimate goal. And you guessed it, yes, more listings. That's what it's all about each week. We provide proven systems to win more listings, generate multiple offers fast, maximize seller profits. That's really what it's all about. Work smarter, not harder. And again, you can see us every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern by joining morenowlistings.com. Who am I? My name is Robert Weichelt. I'm the host of the More Listings Mastermind since 1986. Yes, you see that right. 1986. I will be celebrating my 40 years in the real estate industry next month, February 14th. I can't believe it's gone by so fast. It's a little scary, sure. Our daughter's going to be 34. Our son is going to be 31. So time is certainly flying by. I've helped thousands of sellers over my career, countless agents achieve success in every type of market. As a broker, trainer, mentor, my mission is simple. I want to empower others to grow, win, and lead with purpose. We help agents getting more now listings. I want a listing today before I want the one tomorrow. I certainly want the one tomorrow, but I'm going to target the sellers that need to sell today. And that example would be FSBOs, expireds, pre-foreclosure. Future business, of course, is your circle of influence, your neighborhood, sure. REO and distressed properties. That's why I focus a lot on the notice of default, notice of trustee market, because that is certainly helping people today remedy their issues. But it's also positioning ourselves for the REO space, which will certainly be here. And I've closed a number of REOs already this year. I always like to start off with, this is my favorite quote of all time. Back in 1986, when I first started in the business, I think my first step, my sales manager, and I drove up to University Town Center, UTC, the mall. And there was a place called Success Stories. We went in, and the first thing I bought was a plaque with Vince Lombardi's face on it. And the quote was this: the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. And it's still on my wall today, and I share it with you as well. The 5 habits that'll help you grow your real estate business starting today. Number 1, lead generation, no exceptions. If you're not generating business, you're not growing. You need to block out 90 minutes every day for focused prospecting. That is the most important thing we need to do, is we need to put our blinders on. And when we're prospecting, we need to do just that. We need to stay in the mode, get the momentum going, and focus prospecting. Number 2, track and measure your numbers. We need to track and measure. What gets measured gets improved. So tracking and measuring is key. Number 3, set appointments daily. A day without a seller or buyer appointment should be a red flag in your business. Follow up like a pro. Number 4, 80% of conversions happen in follow-up. You've heard the term, a fortune is in the follow-up. And number 5, sharpen your skills. I commend you for being on this call or listening to it on our YouTube channel or Spotify while you're driving to your listing appointment. But at the end of the day, sharpen your skills with role play, studying script, watching top agent content, and of course, reviewing objections daily. My quote for that: do something today that your future self will thank you for. So with that said, I want to share a couple of tools, tips, and things to help you grow your listing inventory. Number 1, I'll put it in the chat box again, My Plus Leads. It doesn't matter who you're calling, as long as it's the person that wants to sell. FSBO, expired, pre-foreclosure. The FSBOs, those are sellers that have their hands up, telling the world that they want to sell. Expireds and cancels, they still want to sell, but they need a better strategy. Oftentimes they've listed it too high, therefore it's not selling for the price they've desired. And of course, the pre-foreclosure market is super important because those sellers need our help. Those can lead to a great amount of listings. So I'll put together a special bonus 14-day free trial for My Plus Leads. It's the only place I go for FSBOs, expireds, and pre-foreclosures. Great place. The next thing I want to share with you is a cash offer solution. We've worked out a relationship with iList. It is the most robust cash offers platform on the planet. I'll put a link in the chat when we get going here as well. So you can sign up for a 14-day free trial for both My Plus Leads and iList. Check it out and make sure you dive into it, because if you're taking more listings, you need to have a cash offer solution. I'll put that in the chat box. Now, one thing I want to bring up, John, our special guest today, has held many, many open houses with me, and he's seen it in live time. We're averaging between 2, 3, sometimes 400 and more groups through the doors that are open houses. Our listings are getting eyes. For example, 14 days. This is just a listing that we just closed recently. 14 days on Zillow, 8,981 views. That's a big number. 789 saves. That's usually indicative of the amount of traffic that you're going to get at your open houses. Our record is 1,220 plus groups through the doors. Now, that's bananas, yes. But look at this. This one right here, this is 884 people to the open house. How huge is that? That's the kind of traffic we're driving to our listings. Are you being efficient and effective? Are you using Zoom to do your listing consultations, your buyer consultations, working with investors, heck, growing your team? Zoom is the most efficient and effective way to go. I took 4 listings from the beach in Cabo. The only thing you don't see in that photo is a Corona right on the other side of that laptop. My point is, let's be efficient and effective with our business, whether you're traveling the country in your RV like Carl and I just finished up. We spent 2 years in the RV, traveling the country, going to all these different cities and states across America, all taking listings from the comfort of our motorhome. So my point is you're efficient and effective is your business? How efficient and effective is it? Now, I want to recommend that you don't just survive in real estate, thrive. You've heard that term before. Book a 30-minute strategy session, hit the QR code. It goes right to my calendar. Let's take a look under the hood and see what's going on in your business. That's what I wanted to go over with you today. Thank you for joining. I'm just kidding. Okay, now let's get into the program. So I've got a bonus session that I want to share with you, and I share it every week. My good friend Tim Yates. Tim's going to come in and talk a little bit about using estate planning to win more listings. Tim, how are you doing today, buddy?
I am doing fantastic, my friend. How are you?
Oh man, I'm so good. We had a great webinar yesterday. It was fire. It was fire. So why don't you give us a little recap of the legacy and listings and some of the topics we cover in that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just a quick background. I founded an estate planning firm about a decade ago. We're actually a technology firm now, actually, with my wife, Carrie, who's our firm's lead attorney. And we've really been focusing on disrupting the estate planning industry by really partnering with real estate professionals. Developing a four-prong approach, a system we call Legacy and Listings that is really designed to help real estate agents not just help people buy and sell, but to add a value piece that helps their clients protect the home itself. And generate a lot of leads for both of us. So our feeling is if we can help agents get more listings and work with more buyers, it helps our firm get more legal clients, especially when it comes to estate planning. And we have a 4-system approach.
You know what? And I want to point out a few things for the agents that are listening to this. And 87.3, Tim, that's the correct number, right? 87.3 do not have a living trust. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. I mean, it boils down to the numbers. So when I looked at that years ago, I thought to myself, this is number one, it's not acceptable. And two, we need to develop a business model that will start to change those numbers. So that equates to really 9 out of 10 people in your database do not have their assets protected by a living trust, especially their home, which is most people's largest asset.
You know what's the funny thing is, as I think about this and I talk to you more about it, I'm in the process of getting educated more on your program. It's free for agents to get started. It's free for them to understand how to talk about the living trust and the estate planning. But the biggest thing is, an agent, I'm always looking for great ways to thank my clients. And the number 9 out of 10, they don't have a living trust. That's a super amazing tool and a great gift. It's better than a Home Depot gift card or a gift basket or whatever else, agents are using out there, because I stay top of mind. I'm the one that gave it to him. I'm the one that paid for it. It's a nice closing gift. It beats the $500 gift card out of the water. I mean, that's the simple thing. And the best thing is that I stay in touch with my clients,
Yep.
reaching out to them. And I know that 9 out of 10 of people I talk to are not going to have the reason why I'm calling, so I can help them. So I know you've got a lot of great open house stuff to help agents with. And I encourage people to jump on Tuesday's call. And Tim, if you can just put that information in the chat box for people to join, that would be super appreciated. And if you don't have it in front of you, I can certainly do that for you. So thank you so much. Anything else we want to talk about legacy and listings before we move on to our program?
No, let's just get more people to see what we're actually talking about so they can understand it and realize we're not selling them anything. We're actually providing huge value for their business, and it's a true partnership. We love it.
I love it, dude. Well, I appreciate you. Without further ado, I've got a great guest today. I'm super excited, super excited. I've known this guy for a long time. We've been buddies a long time. Not only is he a cool guy, a family guy, a wonderful human being, but he's a great loan officer. He's got a lot of great tips and tools to share with you today. I call it the 5 financial conversations every agent must have before selling their sellers buying their next home. For example, you take a listing today. What are most agents I talk to? I coach training agents all over the country, and most agents I talk to don't get their sellers pre-approved for their next leg. There's certain things we need to do to make sure that we have a smooth transition moving forward. We'll cover net proceeds of sale. Basically, at the end of the day, our goal today is to position yourself as a trusted advisor, not just a listing agent, but a trusted advisor, whether it be talking to folks about a living trust or estate planning, or getting them the proper introductions to the proper lender, in this case, John Allen. So, John, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Robert. And forgive me, my camera just kind of bugged out there for a minute. So if I go dark, it's just because of my connection or something. But
all good. All good. You're too busy doing loans anyway, so it's all good.
Well, hey, sorry. Go ahead.
So, John, so let's do this. Let's dive into, first of all, who's John Allen? I know he's a husband. I know he's a really good drummer. Tim is going to love that. I know you guys talk about that. And you actually use Tim for your estate planning and document stuff. We'll talk a little bit about that. You've been in lending for a while. You and I have worked together a lot of times. Those open houses, our first one we did, it was John, my wife Carla, myself, an assistant, and I think a buyer agent. We had so many people to that open house. We had over 300 groups. It was our first one, and it was like they were parachuting out of the sky. They were just coming in from nowhere. And then we went to the brigantine and watched all those offers come in, fully transparent in live time. John, we've had some good times. And the last thing I want to bring up before we bring you on, we did open houses where John would come in and play the acoustic guitar, and it was just a really great setting. So with that said, John Allen, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. And stop me at any time to kind of dive into different things. But really quick, just about me. I've been in just real estate in general for a while. I started in construction. I was doing trustee sales and loan servicing with family businesses, and then I decided to get into the agency loan primary resident lending world around 10-ish years ago, and helping a lot of people. As you know, I honed in on VA, but then have broadened out from there. But I do quite a bit of VA investment property, non-QM loans, so the out-of-the-box stuff as well. I have been at both direct lending and broker channels throughout the years. Currently at Barrett Financial, it's a broker channel, so I have over 150 different wholesale lenders, everything from reverse, and even a commercial section, non-QM, bridge loans, bank statements, you name it. We have a home, and even if I don't have a home for a loan, I have the benefit of getting on the phone and finding a lender, finding a solution. That's one of the biggest benefits where I am now, is because I can make deals happen. And when I first got over here, I don't know the count, but I did a handful of loans for other loan officers that couldn't find a home for a loan, even though it was a good loan. And so that's been a huge benefit. Just the flexibility. that I have here. You kind of hit the nail on the head. We're in a market, and I believe this is just probably the sharp point of where we're at in the market is that we're advisors. And we moved out of like, so in lending, and I know this will relate to getting listings. I mean, sellers or buyers, but you know, where we have to look at it from a planning perspective. The low-hanging fruit, like I have the refi booms, and it's very transactional and just sort of really quickly numbers based and trying to get the loans in. But if we can think advisory, this is how we get long-term relationships. So I kind of have a saying, like, people have financial, you have an asset manager. I'm like a liabilities manager. I keep a relationship with these folks. I do a mortgage checkup at least yearly, if not more. So building that on an advisory piece, I think has been the key for me, not only surviving, but thriving through some of the hard markets. And some of that goes, and again, it starts with the foundation is just starting as an advisory piece. And this is the same thing, I believe, with agents, whether you're focused on listings or buyers or whatever, is really listening and figuring out what this human being has a goal or a problem that we need to solve. And I get it, it's sort of broad strokes, but I believe that's the foundation for building a really strong client base and partnerships. And that's the way I look at it. I look at with my clients that I help, I look at that we're a team working towards their portfolio and financial health and wealth. And I think when we approach it with that, then good things happen.
We like good things. We like when good things happen. So, John, tell us this. You mentioned a broker. You were helping other agents, other lenders find products. Give us the features and benefits of being a broker.
Well, the main thing is I think now, okay, a lot of lenders are sort of hybrids nowadays anyways, but when you are a direct lender, you have the products of that direct lender. And maybe you have maybe a couple broker channels, you can go to some out of the box stuff, but you basically have what they have. And it'd be like, I'm trying to think of the right analogy, but you go to an ice cream shop, they have ice cream, but you go to Cheesecake Factory and they got ice cream, cheesecake, food, they got all these different options. Now,
good analogy. I like that.
I mean, you can drown in options, though. That's the careful thing. I think the broker world is like a race car or something with a lot of knobs and a lot of maneuverability, which is great if you're a good driver, but you can crash. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so there was, and I don't want to get too off topic, but a lot of LOs moving as pricing and rates moved a lot and got worse, let's say 2022, 23, they were stuck at retail where their margins just soaked it up, and they were just, not only were they not competitive, but you couldn't even structure deals. You didn't have enough freedom to, set margins and have your own P&L, things like that. And to me, it got to a point where it's like, man, it's not even about competing. It's about just being able to put deals together, right? Qualifying people. And that's what I'm kind of saying. We were going from a low-hanging fruit in a low-rate environment where everyone just stepped in. It was really easy to qualify them. And now that it's difficult with the rate environment, Fannie and Freddie have buckled down on underwriting a bit. That's an opportunity, though, for you to flex and be actually good at what you do. And so I think a lot of and I hate to say it, but a lot of the lazies that looking for easy money in the industry are gone. And if you double down and get really good at your craft and what you do in your advisory piece, you're thriving, because you're helping people in a real authentic way. And that leads to you want to talk about referrals and homegrown, that kind of business growing from an organic way. That's the way to do it in my book, right? That's worked. So to be honest, I still prospect. You always have to, right? But it grows by itself if you do it right from the beginning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
And one of the biggest things and I'll tell you, this is a game changer. I don't care if you're a buyer listing, seller listing or buyer agent. At me as a loan officer, every person that's looking to buy, I do an in-person if possible. Zoom is acceptable, but in person if possible, strategy meeting. Once they're approved and we're going out, that face-to-face, we're going over any potential obstacles. We're looking at things like we have on your list. If you're selling, how much do you have? Liquid. What is the new monthly going to look like? What's the rate environment? What's the taxes and insurance look like on that property that or the area you're looking? These are things that can easily be passed by, but if you dig into them, it's not that you're trying to dig out bad news. You're trying to find the obstacles before they come up, and that is super valuable.
That's kind of what you're supposed to do as an agent, right? I mean, we're
Well,
always looking for the potholes before we get there.
Well, my biggest thing is just being a team member with my agent. So we're looking at those things together because I'm not the boots on the ground. You guys are.
Yeah.
I'm the financial guy who's looking at looking up, all those things about that area, taxes, yeah, but the agent should ostensibly know, is there Mello-Roos? Is there anything like this? What are they going from? What are they going to? What are the steps in there? What is it going to look like? How has this changed? Because buyers, they have a perception, but we need to put that into reality. So I'm really big on blueprinting so that, surprises are exactly what we don't want, right? Transactions are topsy-turvy enough. There's always going to be something coming up. The more that we can foreshadow and see and deal with those issues beforehand, the better. And that just solidifies the relationship. That in-person strategy meeting, I know a lot of people want to just phone it in. Oh, I've talked to them. Oh, I called them. I said, yeah, but have you met with them? That's huge.
Yeah, no, I dig it. So let's talk about this real quick. So, I encourage all my agents to, every time you take a listing, part of the listing checklist is to get pre-approved for their next step should they be buying something else. I can't tell you how many times I've had sellers that didn't go through the process, that all of a sudden they don't qualify for their next home. Now they can't sell the current listing that we have. I help agents all the time, and that's on the checklist. It needs to be on the checklist. So I know some lenders that I talk to don't like to go through that process. Not many, but some. And they think we'll get to that when we get there. No, it's important to do it right up front. We need to know what the net proceeds are going to be, number one. Should we sell their home at this highest and best price? Number one. Number two, we need to schedule the timing of the sale and the future purchase, because they need to make sure, because I've had sellers that they're selling their home, and then they end up paying way more than what they had anticipated. So it makes it a very iffy transaction. We don't want to do that. So we need to make sure we have the cost breakdown and the full financials for both transactions. So it's super huge, and getting pre-approved, not pre-qualified, but pre-approved, fully vetted as far as we can take them. Of course, there's the title, appraisal, and those things that are related to the property that you find. But if we have a property, obviously get that done. But we want to make sure that they're fully credit approved right up front. So walk us through the process that you use to get that done.
I love that. So I even take it a step further. So just to kind of dovetail on what you just said. So
Sure.
Yeah, you want to know what you can buy, but we'll go in, we're going to identify in that strategy meeting what is a variable and a sort of unknown, but we're going to make a good guess at, so that we can set those expectations. I like to say the math will reveal the path. But there's things in there that are unknown. In the future, I don't exactly know where rates were going to be. I don't exactly know what the tax rate's going to be, or how much it's going to cost to insure a property, or if it's in a fire zone. But we're going to go over that and go, here's a variable and here's why. Let's be conservative or whatever. We know that going in, right? And we've already addressed it. On top of that, and I think the agents will love this, particularly if you do a lot of listings, I've started including, and this was inspired by an agent who asked for it, as part of the approval, a signed thing from the borrower that we've gone through what the interest rates are, what we've got some insurance quotes are a good idea, what the taxes is, what the full payment should look like, and that the buyer is fully aware, because I had listing agents going, I'd ask them, and they'd say, the biggest threat to an escrow is the buyer being approved sometime in the past, then getting in contract, and then all of a sudden going, wait, the rates are what? My payments what? Hold on a second. There's what you're approved for, and that's what you're comfortable and doable payment wise. They need to know, not to the penny, because we can't know that, but they need to know what that's going to look like. So this is any buyer ever, but most importantly, too, to your point, is a seller that's already going from something. What's that next lily pad look like? But not only do we go through it with a fine-tooth comb, we can show documentation of it and that they've seen it. And I think that's a powerful tool to help sell the offer too. And I'm sure all those people, all you agents that like listings want to know that, right? Does this buyer, not only are they qualified, are they aware of what they're getting into right now?
Yeah, and it's funny that a lot of times the buyers don't realize what the next steps are. So it's super important. I mean, I know it's remedial, but it's often overlooked is getting them fully approved for their next purchase. That's huge.
It became really popular when rates were shooting up. I mean, it's been volatile up and down. And so when rates would move 0.25%, let's say, within like a month, that makes a difference.
Sure.
And I remember, so I was the MC for a broker caravan for a while, and I would tell all the lenders in the room and the agents, I said, hey, we had some movement. I did a mortgage minute. Said, look out, because we just had some movement. It's going to reprice. All your approvals are now garbage. Right? You got to recalibrate. Now, from 2015 to like 18, 19, it didn't move that much in a quarter. What I would see in like a week. So we have to be better. We have to keep our eyes on the prize. Look, at this market is never standing still with the same conditions. A couple years ago, I was doing bridge loans. I can't tell you the last time I did a bridge loan.
Yeah.
The 2-1 buy down became a real great shiny object that everyone loved. No one knows it. No one understands it. Still, they don't. But it's going to go, that could still be, it's still in play a little bit. But again, these things come in and out. I tell people that are looking at HELOCs, I said, yeah, if you want to get a HELOC, but look at it, because it could end like that. It'll be not available all of a sudden if the lenders pucker. So
I've seen that. That's usually a problem. You mentioned something that's key, and I want to bring it back up. Be better. I think our number one goal as agents and lenders and real estate service providers, we always need to strive to get better. And that's what our whole goal is here. We're not pitching so much as a mortgage company, but just pitching somebody that's really good, really knows what they're doing. At the end of the day, you're only as good as your affiliated services. If I send a buyer to John and he drops the ball, it's not John's fault. It's my fault. It's the agent's fault that referred that. So I can tell you this, John's got my wholehearted recommendation. And he's done nothing but great things for me. So John, I thank you for that. Tell us a little bit about what are you seeing in terms of insurance? Now, you mentioned insurance a minute ago, let's talk about San Diego, but California, is known as something that's always on fire. What are you seeing struggle-wise with the homeowners insurance, and what are some of the things you're doing to be proactive with those challenges that may come up?
The main thing is condos and HOAs. That is a big, big factor right now. Now, with single family residences, we can find insurance. It's just a matter of what does it cost and what's the dynamics of it. The HOAs are different. And what I'm seeing is these HOAs that don't know better, and they're hit with the decision of like raise everyone's HOA by $500 or $1,000 a month and be fully insured or not. And then they get some other policy. Now that new policy that they just got to save the owners association money, now put them outside of agency loan guidelines. Okay. So then, and they don't even know it. So then the next time someone tries to buy or refinance or whatever, now they would have what I call agency loans, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, HUD, conventional, VA. Now all of a sudden the insurance is not compatible with that, and they have to go with non-QM, non-warrantable condos, those kinds of things. Now, those loans and those lenders have become more prolific because it's a response, because those holes always get filled, right? But at the same time, like, it's really, really affecting affordability. The other thing is to look at that really closely. Look at it beforehand. Again, this goes to be better, be an advisor, find out about that complex. Get the information as much as you can. Get the minutes. Are they facing a new roof? Are they all going to get dinged for a new thing? Who knows? But those are the big ones because there's a factor there sort of in the dark, that like I said, the HOAs sometimes don't even realize what they've done. So be proactive with that. I talk to my insurance brokers about properties a lot of times, even when they're just making, if they're interested in it, maybe, but if they're making an offer, we're looking into that property. I want to know about it immediately, or I've already priced in the room that I might need.
Yeah. No, I think that's a big thing that's going on, is they're not being proactive, knowing that, hey, we've seen this. That's the problem with loan officers that don't have a lot of loans under their belt. And I defer back to you, is you've closed transactions, lots of transactions. You know where the dead bodies are in terms of what could affect our transactions. So give us a few tips on things that agents, in particular agents, whether it be a listing agent or a buyer agent, what are some of the things that the mistakes that you see agents and sellers commonly make, and what can they proactively do to avoid them?
Well, and this will go to that. And if I want to we need to get more specific, we can. But what I do, I think it can relate to an agent, can relate to anyone in our related industries. And that is, what I tell agents is a couple things, but the main one is, say you have a client, someone has raised their hand and reached out to you, right? We need to efficiently and quickly determine where they are, okay? And I use like sort of a bucket system. Like, if this is a nurture, I need it in the nurture bucket. If this is a hold for some reason, if this is a credit fix, if this is hey, we need to respond to this right away. I match motivation and doability. So that's super important right now, because we have to farm. We have to cultivate longer term down the road. I help people that aren't buying for a year, but I can't give them the same attention that someone needs right now that wants to buy, to make an offer this weekend. And you have to delegate your time to match motivation. That is critical in my view. So that's probably the biggest one.
I love it. So that's being proactive. I think what you put there is, everybody wants a now listing or a now buyer, but what you do, and you're gracious enough to do, is nurture those buyers. So if an agent that's listening to this has a buyer that's maybe not ready for a year, they can still reach out to you. You can still get them a game plan to guide them to the next steps. And oftentimes what I'm seeing, a lot of buyers think, because they've been told by others that, oh, you're a good year, 2 years off. When you meet with somebody, I've seen it multiple times, they've been ready in 6 months, 3 months, ready now. So, it's important.
That's a really good
point.
Yeah. Don't let what they think determine what's best for them necessarily, right? I mean, our job is to give options and fix problems and reach goals. And sometimes they have preconceived notions and I'm just saying, you don't want to fall for that. That's kind of like qualification is what someone tells me. Approval is what I can verify. Yeah. So once I verify that you have options actually right now today, so we communicate that. I don't on a first call, when they say, well, I just don't think I'm going to be ready for a while, I go, okay, well, we're going to want to prove that. Like, I'm not going to rush them. Of course, they might have other factors. Everyone's human, but you got to listen to what their goals are. But you made a good point, which is sometimes there's a solution right in front of them. They needed somebody to dig it out and kind of go, here's what your options are, and here's what the solution is, and then decide. But to know it, not speculate. That's what we're taking it out of the world of speculation and conjecture to fact. And that's the biggest thing. And to your point, I want to move the ball forward, right? Moving the ball forward sometimes is bucketing it to a follow-up or a nurture or something. And I'm not saying like that, look, we're all spread thin. Sometimes that's automated or partially or whatever. But to stay in touch, to have really good notes about like what their situation is and what the next steps are when you've hit the ball into their court, I think those are critical pieces to keep the relationship going. And this is why I always say, like, the strategy, the education, right? If we're educating, and I'm big on transparency too, I'm like, I call it aggressive transparency. I almost force them into the kitchen to see how the sausage is made. You have to learn what we're doing. So, and I give them the choice. So I will get with the client and say, look, I need you to learn about what it is that we're doing here so that when I have strategies, you understand what we're talking about. Most of them respond well to that. You know, that they want to know. Now, they don't need to be able to underwrite a loan at the end of this process, but they need to know how it's done. And that way, when we're speaking, and I'm telling you, the first to educate is the first to win and retain. And if you can do that, then you're setting up. So I tell this to other loan officers that are getting shopped and, oh, wait, it's hard to retain clients. And I go, well, you're either not educating them or not giving them, you're not doing this fundamental thing. I don't get shopped a lot. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because of that. And I would say I almost accidentally come across that strategy because I just did it that way and I found out that I wasn't getting shopped a lot. We're all going to get shopped from time to time, but I think if you're just adding that value and giving options and solving problems, they're going to want to cling to you. That's just client retention.
I think the biggest thing right there is setting the expectations, walking them through the process. Listen, here's the deal. I can tell you how the sausage is made, or I could show you. Which one do you prefer? I'm going to say that most prefer. I have this philosophy is I don't care how the clock was built. I just want to know what time it is. So everybody has their own way of doing things. Most of the time, you're going to find they just want to know what's next. What should I expect? And actually achieve those goals. So
that's what I'm kind of talking about. I mean, yeah. So you don't need to know debt to income, ratios and all this kind of stuff, right? You just need to set that. Here's what's going to happen. And I told people on a communication level, I mean, this is sort of obvious, I guess, but I never leave a phone call until I say, this is where we are. This is where we're headed. And this is what I expect from you next, or you should expect from me next. Boom. Yeah. And then that's that. You don't hang up until that happens.
Yeah. Hey, so I have a question. This is off topic. Before we go to these questions, I have some really good questions, like real live time questions. But what's Barrett Financial? What are they doing to stand out among the many loan brokers out there? What is Barrett Financial doing that agents can really take advantage of?
Well, you just kind of inspired something because we were talking about how the sausage is made. All right. Look, so allow me this, okay? Because I do make homemade from scratch sausage myself. And the ironic thing is it's not what you put in it, it's what you don't put in it. And I'm going to say that analogy because Barrett is all about like what is not in it. And that's a lot of fluff and useless tech stack nonsense and layers of management and all this kind of thing. So it's pretty bare bones. Like I said, it's a little bit of a race car, but if we get good drivers, then we're super efficient, right? So I talked about advisory over transactional, but at the end of the day, in the competitive market we're in, I got to answer the phone on Saturday. I give a pre-approval on a Saturday. You bet your butt. I'm calling listing agents to help sell the offer as soon as it's given, as soon as it's in. We can close quickly, and I have avenues for that. So I have lenders, if I need to close, so a feather in my cap, I closed a jumbo VA loan in 12 days.
Nice.
And that's start to finish, boom, 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 and no one thought it could be done. We got it done. Now I have lenders that are quick. I have lenders that are not, they're better priced. They're all over the place. And this is where I'm saying you could get lost in the sauce. Trust me, you can. But what I found is like if you're applied and you learn the environment and the nature of the different lenders that I have to utilize, it can be highly efficient. so I can close quickly if we need to. We can unpack the complicated underwriting scenarios like in advance. And I can even do, like TBD underwrites and that kind of thing if we need to. But so it's case by case, but that's the benefit that we have. And we have, because of all that, not because of what's not in it, all those tech stacks, we keep our margins really tight. So it's not even about like how much money a company makes or I make or this or that. It's about make enough to operate without all these layers of middle management taking basis points off of every deal. And all of a sudden you have 400 bips of margin and the rates suck. That's not helping anyone, right?
No.
So that's what I like about this model. That's why I've lived here for a long time. That's why I'm going to stay here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's great. And I know you've got a great team, and I certainly am super pumped up. So the questions that I had, and I really like the fact that the agents maybe need to hear this again. I answer my phone on the weekends. I work when you work. That's the deal. I mean, a listing agent, sure, I can get away with a 9 to 5 mentality in most cases because that I can do that. But a buyer agent and a loan officer, especially, they need to work when their buyers are ready to go out and look for properties, want to talk about mortgage, go into an open house. I can assure you that I've worked with John, and I know he is available. He's working on 2 or 3 pre-approvals just this morning on some clients, and so John, thank you for that. The questions that I have before we get to the final portion of this is, what are your thoughts on the mortgage portability that's being talking? Where the seller has a 2.5 or 2% mortgage, and they can transport it to the new home. It doesn't take really much out of you other than maybe you don't get a loan for that seller. But what are your thoughts on that? Have you really had any thought on that?
Just the scope of trying to do something like that where your interest rates lives with you, it turns everything on its head so much that I don't see that. Okay.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't really see that. It's kind of similar to that 50-year mortgage that was sort of bandied around.
Well, that's my next question.
Okay, well, I'll shoot you that.
What are your thoughts on the 50-year mortgage? Does it make a difference? Would it help people out?
It ostensibly initially, but the market would just absorb that little space anyways. Like, does that make sense? Like your purchase power would be absorbed by price. That's
Sure.
just how the market works.
Sure.
But it doesn't happen all at once, and there's still an emotional component to the market. So you would think, and I've looked at the data here, that as soon as rates drop, buyers come out of the woodworks immediately, but they don't. For whatever reason, when they see a trend, they tend to, I wouldn't say freeze, but they'll sort of see what's going to happen. And that will happen eventually, but it doesn't happen right away, ironically. And so, again, this is part of our job and bucketing and going and matching motivation of like, I switched gears to, most of my business is there's people that have to buy or have to sell. And then there's people that are just dipping their toes in. And what I've kind of noticed is like, in the way the market we're coming out of now, I think a little bit is that, it's only the people that have to buy. Now there's people that are still kind of coming into the fray. I'm still seeing buyers. I'm still busy. Again, most of them have to, I work, like I said, a lot of military, they're PCSing or something. They got to buy. That's just all there is to it. But I think a lot of this shiny object stuff is sort of just that. I'm seeing things come and go a lot quicker than in the past. And some of these things, like the 50-year or like carrying your rate with you, I don't see how that works just from what I know about money and how it's sold.
Sure. Sure.
In the bond market and like how it's run through, I will say that there is a lot of opportunity in the sense that like all these fence riders that are holding on to their low rates, I think when we see conventional rates start dipping into the fives, mid or low fives, I think a lot of fence riders are going to get off the fence and want to do something. They're waiting for it to be feasible. And, there's a lot of pent up wanting to move. There's a lot of people whose current home doesn't meet their needs, but they can't do anything.
Oh,
And when that dam breaks, it could get interesting.
yeah, no, I hear you there. One last question, and then we'll get to our closing remarks. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about the 401k, taking it out tax free for the home purchase. What are you hearing in that space? It's just now starting to talk about it. What are you hearing? Are you seeing a lot of buyers using their 401k funds to purchase homes?
I mean, from time to time, we're utilizing that. Not as much as you might think, but I still like, and I usually have this conversation with every buyer. I still like. Okay, well, let me back up a little bit. I talk about exit strategy, and that's very important. Someone that's here and like, oh, I'm moving in 2 to 3 years. Oh, we got to be careful there. If your exit strategy is I'm going to keep this house forever, and that is an exit strategy, that's different. So I'm still bullish on Southern California for a number of reasons long term. But if you got to sell or you're trying to rent it in a year, well, we have to really pay attention. You know what I mean? So, and that's getting off topic of 401k, but I say that because it's like, what funds are we going to deploy where, and does it make sense?
Yeah.
Because I always say, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, if you buy real estate, congratulations, you're a real estate investor. If we think that way, yes, it could be your home, it can be a set it and forget it. But if we want to be strategic, there's an opportunity. It is an investment one way or another, so you look at potential gain from something over here, say a 401k or whatever else. I have this conversation with VA a lot because I go like, okay, you're going to leverage $0 and you're going to have 100% ownership interest of $1 million, close to $1 million asset. And you're going to, in exchange for that, give a monthly amount with an interest rate that's lower than just any credit card or any kind of thing like that. So it's like, take $0 and put it in anything and let's see how it grows. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it. Here's the final question. And thank you so much for being so gracious. And I think it's important for the agents that are listening to this. You don't need to be a lender, but you certainly need to have a good lender, and you certainly need to have a nice base knowledge of how the lending process works to be the best listing agent possible. This is not trying to turn you into an LO. This is trying to align you with an LO that's going to make you look super amazing to your clients. So John, thank you for jumping on. My last question is, what do you want to say to the agent that's tuning into this? What do you want to say to them, and why should they work with you, John?
Well, you kind of mentioned it, and I'm going to expand upon it. It really is a loan partner. One of my biggest value propositions, I think, when I'm with my realtor partners is that I'm saving them. And by helping bucket where things are, because we need to know a full picture, and sort of done is the new perfect in this sense, because but if you know where they're at, I'm saving you a ton of time. I've seen too many agents, they're running around, someone's raised their hand and they want to buy, and they haven't either taken the time or partnered with the right financial LO, right, to go like, here's what they really can do or when they can do it. And that's critical. And I mean, if you have, I think the smart ones do. There's a million ways to spin your wheels in this business. We need to isolate and remove those. We want to know what we're doing is effective and we're not wasting time. And we had a couple of years of just too many LOs and agents petting dead horses, I called it. It was something that just wasn't ever going to work. They weren't going to ever do it, but they kept petting that horse. And I was like, we need to get rid of those and get the people up that can. We just don't have time in this industry to not do that.
I appreciate it. And John, what I can tell by firsthand, you're a wonderful human being. You got really a huge knowledgeable background in the mortgage space. So I encourage everybody that's listening to this, reach out to John. John, if you could put your information in the chat box so folks could reach out to you and have a conversation. If anything else, let John be your backup. I mean, you've seen in football, we're in the playoffs right now. Backup quarterback comes in. Tom Brady's a perfect example. You got Drew Bledsoe goes down. Tom Brady takes over and wins what, 7 Super Bowls? My point is, have a backup plan with your mortgage relationship. So, John, thank you so much for that. And we certainly appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and, John, thank you so much for jumping on. We're going to continue with our close out this episode of the More Listings Mastermind. Thank you, John. Thank you, Tim Yates, for jumping on. And make sure you guys put your information so folks can reach out to you, whether it be, you know, taking more listings by using the estate planning method. It doesn't cost you anything to get trained up. A lot of our agents are getting trained up, and it's not only is it a great tool for you agents to have in your tool belt, but it's also a income generating rev share opportunity. That's a big deal. I like that. I'm in the profit business. I may be a broker, but I'm in the for-profit business. Reaching out to a great loan officer like John Allen. Thank you, John, for jumping on. Thank you, Tim, and everybody else that's been on.
I appreciate the opportunity to be on, and thanks you guys all for listening and being here.
Absolutely. You can join us each week, every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You go to morenowlistings.com. Next week, we have a special guest, Joe Peterson. He's been on many times before. This guy, he's one of the smartest folks I know in the business. He's the CEO of iList. It's a cash offers platform. And our topic next week is take more listings with cash offers. Everybody thinks they want a cash offer. Not everybody wants it once they see it. So with that said, learn how to leverage the cash offers on our next episode of the More Listings Mastermind next week. And remember, guys, I think the biggest thing we need to remember is dive in. Take a look under the hood. Reach out to me. Let's schedule a 30-minute strategy session to find out what's going on in your business. Let's take a look under the hood. Let's get you headed in the right directions to take more listings and maximize your success in 2026. This is Robert Weichelt for the More Listings Mastermind. I appreciate you for jumping on. I want to thank my special guest, Tim Yates, as always, and John Allen. I'm telling you what, you are a beast. Thank you, sir. Reach out to me, book a 30-minute strategy session, and thank you for joining the More Listings Mastermind, and we'll see you in escrow.